What if I told you that a woman doesn't lose you the day she walks away? She loses you the moment your silence no longer waits at her door. Most men think heartbreak is about her leaving. They think the pain comes from the goodbye, the distance, the empty bed. But the truth is far more brutal and far more powerful. The real shift happens when she realizes she no longer owns your attention, when her certainty begins to crumble, when the silence she thought was temporary becomes permanent. On the outside, she might laugh, post selfies, pretend she's free, but beneath the mask, panic, because deep down, she knows she's lost something she can't get back. And brother, once you understand how women truly behave when they know they've lost you, you'll never be fooled by fake smiles, staged happiness, or manipulative guilt again. Stay with me, because in this video, we're breaking down every stage she goes through, from anger disguised as indifference to her final surrender. And once you see the truth, you'll walk away with one thing no one can ever take from you: peace. Now let's begin. The first mask a woman wears when she knows she's lost you is not sadness. It's not regret. It's indifference sharpened by anger. She will raise her chin higher. She will walk past you like you don't exist. She will say things like, "I don't care what he does. He was never that important anyway." On the surface, it almost convinces you. Almost. You look at her coldness and think, maybe she really doesn't care. Maybe everything I gave was wasted. Maybe I was never enough. But brother, let me reveal the truth. Most men never see if someone truly doesn't care. They don't need to announce it. Silence is the language of indifference. Performance is the language of conflict. And what she's showing you, the cold words, the dismissive tone, the arrogance, is not freedom. It's panic. The psychology of cold indifference. When a woman realizes you're no longer orbiting her world, her pride takes the first hit. She expected you to break down. She expected you to chase. She expected you to prove that she still mattered. And when you didn't, the ground under her feet shook. But instead of admitting that, she puts on the mask. The mask of, "I'm fine. I don't care. I've moved on." Think of it like a poker game. She's holding a losing hand, but she stares at you across the table with a straight face, hoping you'll fold first. Her arrogance is not strength. It's a shield to cover the sting of loss. That's why you must never take her words at face value. They're not a declaration of truth. They're a defense mechanism. The social media show. Picture this 2 days after the breakup. You open your phone, and there it is, a picture of her at dinner, surrounded by friends. Wine glass in hand. Captioned, "New beginnings." Your chest tightens. Your stomach drops. You wonder if she's already happier without you. If what you had meant nothing, but what you don't see is the night that follows. The way she lies awake, scrolling through your profile. The way she watches your stories, waiting to see if you noticed. The way her freedom is staged for the world, but hollow when the world is gone. That smile, it's a performance. That laughter, it's bait. Her silence afterward is the truth. Anger behind the mask. Understand this. Her so-called indifference is actually anger. Anger that you didn't collapse. Anger that your silence is steady. Anger that you may be moving on faster than she ever expected. Her pride cannot admit that she lost you, so she hides behind dismissive words and empty laughter. But every time she says, "I don't care," what she really means is, "I care more than I want to admit." That contradiction will eat at her. And the more she tries to prove she doesn't care, the more her mask betrays her. The trap for men. This is where most men break. They see her coldness and think, maybe she never loved me. Maybe I was worthless to her. And that doubt becomes poison. You start questioning your own value. You start thinking you need to fix things, to prove yourself, to chase. But here's the lesson. Her mask is not your mirror. Don't measure your worth by her performance. Her pride is the problem, not your value. The Stoic response. So what do you do when faced with this mask? You do not argue. You do not chase. You do not explain. You stand in silence. Not silence filled with anger, not silence dripping with bitterness, but silence rooted in calm strength. Your silence is not emptiness. It is your fortress. It says, "Your performance does not move me. Your mask does not control me. I know who I am, with or without you." And that is the silence she fears the most. Because silence is power. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It simply stands. The story of the shield. Think of a warrior standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls. The arrows rain down. The thunder shakes the ground. And yet he does not move. Why? Because his shield is steady. His focus is unbroken. His strength comes not from what the world throws at him, but from the discipline of standing firm. That's you. Her indifference, her arrogance, her attempts to provoke you, they are the storm. But your silence, that is the shield, the hidden victory. Here's the paradox. The more unshaken you remain, the more her mask begins to crack. Because she isn't fighting you, she's fighting herself. Her pride tells her one story, but reality tells another. And deep down, she knows it. She didn't just lose a man. She lost control. That realization will haunt her long after the smiles fade and the captions vanish. And that is your hidden victory, not revenge, not gloating, but the quiet power of knowing you didn't break. Resolution. So remember this, brother, when a woman treats you with cold indifference, don't fall for the illusion. Loud indifference is not proof of freedom. It's proof of conflict. And the man who sees through the mask, who refuses to be baited, who stands silent and steady, that man holds the true power. Your task is simple. Do not engage. Do not defend. Do not doubt your worth. Stand. Breathe. Endure. Because the first mask is only the beginning. And the moment she realizes her indifference no longer moves you, she will look for another way, another test, another performance. And when that happens, you'll be ready. When anger disguised as indifference no longer protects her pride, she doesn't stop there. She shifts strategies. She begins to test you silently, subtly, in ways designed to measure whether she still matters. At first glance, these actions look harmless. A casual text, a random social media post, A question slipped through a mutual friend, but beneath each move lies the same purpose: to confirm whether you're still orbiting her gravity. The first probe, the unexpected text. It always starts small. Weeks may have passed since the breakup. You've been rebuilding your strength, grounding yourself, focusing on your life. And then, out of nowhere, her name lights up your phone. "Hey, did you still have that jacket of mine? Just saw something that reminded me of you." Or worse, just a simple hi. On the surface, it seems casual, almost meaningless. But here's the truth: it's not about the jacket. It's not about the memory. It's about you. She doesn't want the jacket. She wants your reaction. Will you reply quickly? Will you show excitement? Will you take the bait? Your response or lack of it tells her everything she needs to know. The social media traps. If the text doesn't hook you, the next layer unfolds online. Suddenly, a new story appears. Maybe she's out with friends. Maybe there's a man in the corner of the frame, just blurry enough to raise questions. Or she posts a song, lyric, cryptic, vague, but clearly designed to make you wonder. This isn't random. It's bait. She wants to see if you'll watch, if you'll like, if you'll comment, because every view, every interaction is proof that she still holds space in your mind. Here's the brutal truth. A woman who has truly moved on doesn't need to broadcast. The more she tries to project, the more she reveals her inner conflict, the messenger in disguise. When subtle posts and small texts don't work, she may enlist others. A mutual friend suddenly mentions, "She was asking about you the other day," or she said, "You've really changed." Don't be fooled. These aren't coincidences. They're hooks carefully planted to stir your emotions. Because here's the psychology. If she can't get a reaction directly, she'll settle for an indirect one. If she can't hear your voice, she wants to know you're at least thinking of hers. The trap hidden in the ripple. Think of yourself as a still pond. She throws a pebble, an emoji, a story, a random message. If the surface ripples, if you react, she knows she still matters. If the water remains calm, her own reflection stares back at her. And that silence, that lack of ripple, unsettles her far more than any argument ever could. Because anger can be fought, jealousy can be provoked, but silence cannot be baited. Escalation, vulnerability, or provocation. If the subtle tests fail, she may escalate. Suddenly, a message comes late at night. "I've been going through a lot lately," or "I just don't know who to talk to anymore." On the surface, it feels like vulnerability. Your protective instinct kicks in. You want to help. But look deeper. It's not true intimacy. It's strategy. If vulnerability doesn't work, she may try provocation instead. A meaningless argument, a sarcastic comment, something sharp enough to push your buttons. Why? Because even anger proves you still care. To her, your rage is still attention, but your silence that terrifies her, the Stoic response. This is where clarity becomes your weapon. When you recognize the silent tests for what they are, not signs of love, not signs of healing, but signs of desperation, you stop playing the game. You don't need witty comebacks. You don't need to prove you're unaffected. You only need to stay calm, steady, and silent. Because true freedom is not in outsmarting the test. It's in refusing to take it. The hidden victory. Understand this. The tests aren't signs that she's over you. They're proof that she's not. She tests not because she's free, but because she isn't. And the man who remains unbothered delivers the greatest lesson of all: peace cannot be baited. When you refuse to ripple, she is left staring at her own reflection, forced to confront the emptiness of her own loss. And that, brother, unsettles her more than anything else. When the silent tests fail, when your calm indifference proves unshakable, she doesn't stop, because silence without control is unbearable to her pride. That's when the show begins. The loudest mask of all fake happiness, the performance of freedom. It starts with her social media lighting up like never before. Trips, parties, new faces, captions filled with phrases like "new beginnings," "never been happier," "finally free." At first glance, it seems convincing. You scroll and see her laughing, radiant, surrounded by friends, or perhaps next to another man. And inside you, a sharp thought pierces. Was I really that easy to replace? This is the dagger. Every man feels the quiet fear that everything he gave, everything he poured into her, wasn't enough. But here's the truth she doesn't want you to know. Genuine happiness doesn't need an audience. Why she performs. A woman who has truly moved on doesn't announce it. She doesn't broadcast her joy to the world. Real peace is lived quietly, not staged publicly. So why does she post? Why does she parade a highlight reel for all to see? Because the performance isn't for her new friends. It isn't even for her family. It's for you. She's not celebrating her freedom. She's trying to convince herself and convince you that she's fine without you. But the louder someone tries to prove their joy, the more fragile that joy really is. The trap for men. This is where so many men stumble. You begin comparing your private healing with her public show. She looks radiant, while you're grinding quietly, building discipline, working in silence, and suddenly you feel like you're losing. But ask yourself, losing what? Are you losing a competition? Or are you losing a game that only exists in her head? The harsh truth is there is no competition. The only scoreboard she's playing on is the one she created to control the narrative. I'm better off without him. And if it were true, she wouldn't need to repeat it so loudly. The psychology of competitive energy. When she sees you won't chase, won't react, won't ripple, her ego starts to panic. Her weapon becomes comparison. She posts with strangers to make you wonder, is he the replacement? She flaunts her freedom to force you to think, maybe I was holding her back. But beneath the surface, it isn't freedom. It's fear. Fear that you are already moving on. Fear that you've grown so steady, she can no longer shake you. So she competes, not with your progress, but with your peace. And no matter what she posts, no matter how she smiles, her own heart knows she's performing. The illusion of winning. Here's the paradox. The more she tries to prove she's winning, the more she proves she's losing. Because if she were truly happy, she wouldn't care whether you noticed. The fact that she's still projecting means she's still watching. Think about it, who's really winning? The man quietly building his life, who no longer needs validation, or the woman desperately seeking attention from a digital crowd, hoping you're still in the audience? Your stoic response. This is where most men make their greatest mistake. They see her posts and try to outshine her. They post gym selfies, staged photos, quotes meant to sting. But here's the truth: the moment you compete, you lose, because the competition itself is her game. By engaging, you admit you're still inside her frame. The real strength, refusing to play at all. Your growth doesn't need applause. It doesn't need likes, captions, or validation. It lives in your discipline. It shows in your silence. It radiates in the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. The hidden shift. Here's what happens when you stop checking her scoreboard. The game ends. She's posting for an audience that no longer exists. She's performing for a man who doesn't even watch anymore. And when the stage goes dark, when her energy no longer gets the reaction it craves, that emptiness echoes louder than your silence ever could, she realizes the truth. Her highlight reel can't compete with your reality. Her need for validation is her weakness. Your refusal to play is your strength. The lesson, the fake happiness, the staged glow, the competitive energy, it's all smoke. And smoke cannot choke you unless you stop and breathe it in. Your job is not to chase, not to prove, not to perform. Your job is to keep building, keep walking, keep living. Because the real win isn't showing her you're better. The real win is becoming so centered, so unshakable, that her existence no longer shifts your peace. And that, brother, is the deepest truth of this stage. Her competition proves she hasn't let go. Your indifference proves you already have. When the mask of fake happiness begins to fade, when the staged smiles no longer sting you, when her performance fails to pull you back into orbit, she shifts again. Because one thing you must understand, brother, control never surrenders easily. And the next tools she reaches for are two of the most dangerous: guilt and nostalgia. The weapon of guilt. It often begins with a message in the middle of the night. Words like, "After everything we had, you just moved on like that. You've really changed. I guess I never really mattered to you." On the surface, it sounds like care. It sounds like regret. But look closer. This is not love. This is strategy. Because guilt works on one of the deepest vulnerabilities in a man's heart, his sense of responsibility. You gave everything. You carried the weight. You stayed loyal. And now she's trying to twist that very loyalty against you. Suddenly, you start questioning yourself. Was I too cold? Did I abandon her too fast? Did I stop fighting too soon? But remember this truth. You cannot abandon someone who already let go. The trap of guilt. Why is guilt so dangerous? Because it forces you to replay the story in your mind, not from your truth, but from her script. It makes you doubt your growth. It makes you feel like the villain for choosing yourself. But pause for a moment. Did you not give? Did you not stay long after the respect was gone? Did you not forgive more than she ever earned? Her guilt trip is not about your failures, it's about her slipping grip. She isn't mourning the love. She's mourning the control. The smoke of manipulation. When guilt doesn't land strongly enough, she may escalate. Involve mutual friends who casually mention she's been asking about you. Post vague messages online like, "Some people change too fast." Or even play the victim, "I tried everything, but he just walked away." This is smoke, and smoke can only choke you if you stop moving and breathe it in. Keep walking forward, and it dissolves behind you. Remember the Stoic truth. The opinion of others is outside my control. My response is within my control. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to rewrite her narrative. You only need to live in such a way that the truth becomes undeniable. The seduction of nostalgia. When guilt and manipulation begin to lose power, she often shifts to something far more subtle: nostalgia. A random text, late at night. "Remember that road trip I just heard our song on the radio?" Or even a simple meme that only you two would understand. And suddenly, memories you thought were buried resurface. The laughter in the car on rainy nights. The way she reached for your hand when she was afraid. The rituals that once felt sacred. In that haze, a dangerous question creeps in. Could we find our way back? Why nostalgia works. Nostalgia is powerful because it doesn't attack your logic. It appeals to your heart. It paints over the fights, the disrespect, the long nights of doubt. It edits the movie, showing only the highlight reel. But here's the reality. She isn't revisiting those moments to cherish them. She's revisiting them because the present, where she no longer has you, feels unbearable. And when she says, "I didn't realize what I had until now," understand this clearly. It's not revelation. It's desperation. She isn't recognizing your worth for the first time. She's recognizing her loss. The paradox of timing. The validation she now offers is the same validation you begged for when she dismissed you. But it comes too late. And that's the paradox every man must understand. If she truly valued you, she wouldn't need to lose you to see it. If her regret only comes after your detachment, it isn't love. It's fear. Fear of losing the safety net. Fear of realizing the man she underestimated has become untouchable. Your Stoic armor. How do you defend against nostalgia? Not by denying the past, not by pretending it didn't matter, but by honoring it without returning to it. Yes, those moments were real. Yes, they mattered, but they belong to a version of you that no longer exists. You've evolved. You've grown. You've carried yourself into a future where yesterday cannot contain you. The Stoics remind us, the past is not ours to hold. Only the present belongs to us. So let her live in memories, if she must. You, brother, you live in reality. Resolution. When guilt fails to bind you and nostalgia fails to chain you, something powerful happens. You break the final thread of control she has left. She must confront the truth that her hooks no longer work. Her words no longer move you. Her memories no longer define you. And that, more than any silence, delivers the deepest cut. The lesson: understand this. Brother, guilt is not love. Love frees you. Guilt binds you. Nostalgia is not romance. Nostalgia is desperation dressed as tenderness. When you stop reacting to both, you step fully into freedom. And here lies the ultimate truth of this stage. The moment you stop letting guilt and nostalgia pull your strings, you stop being her puppet and you finally become your own master. Silence has carried you this far. Indifference has disarmed her. Your refusal to be baited by guilt or softened by nostalgia has broken every thread of control. And now, brother, we arrive at the final act of her journey: jealousy, regret, and surrender. Jealousy, the sting of replacement, when she realizes she no longer has power over your mind. Her thoughts turn darker. She begins to wonder, has another woman replaced me? She asks mutual friends casually, is he seeing anyone? She lurks your social media at night, searching for clues. Sometimes, she even breaks the silence with a message disguised as casual interest. So, are you talking to someone new? Make no mistake, this is not love. This is fear. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of being replaced. Fear that the position she once occupied so easily has now been filled by someone else. And here's the paradox. She once acted like you were disposable. Yet the thought of you moving on terrifies her. The trap of jealousy. Here is where many men stumble. When she shows signs of jealousy, a hidden part of you feels validated. You think, finally, she feels the pain I once felt. Finally, she sees my worth. But brother, do not be deceived. Her jealousy is not admiration. It's not love reborn. It's possession. It's her ego crying out, I need to know I can still affect him. If you give her a reaction, whether by confirming, denying, or trying to prove something, you feed the very fire you worked so hard to extinguish. The Stoics would tell you, he who is provoked reveals his chains. Your discipline lies in refusing to give her that proof. From jealousy to regret. As jealousy fails to provoke you, the storm quiets. The games grow fewer. The performances shrink. And what replaces them is something she never wanted to feel: regret. But listen closely. Regret does not come from love. Regret comes from loss. Loss of control. Loss of certainty. Loss of access to a man she never thought she'd lose. She may not say it outright, but you'll see it in the way she lingers on your stories. You'll sense it in the hesitation of her voice if you ever cross paths. You'll notice it in the way her silence now feels heavy, not powerful. Her regret is not about what she gave you. It's about what she threw away. The silent longing. This is where her pride battles her heart. On the outside, she may still insist she's fine. She may still post occasional highlights, still act as if her life is moving forward. But inside, her mind replays the story she once controlled. The dinners you planned, the sacrifices you made, the loyalty you gave without condition. And in that replay, one truth begins to cut her deeper than anything else. You were the man she needed, but she treated you like the man she could replace. Now she lives with the silent longing of knowing she cannot reach the version of you who has evolved. The final surrender. Every cycle burns itself out. The anger, the tests, the fake happiness, the manipulation, the jealousy. Eventually, all of it collapses under its own weight. And what remains is surrender. Not because she chose peace, not because she suddenly healed, But because she finally accepts a reality, she fought to deny the door is closed. Sometimes this surrender comes in words. Maybe we should meet and talk. We had something real, didn't we? Other